MaryAnne. I love your name, by the way. It makes me think of my godmother and the White Rabbit.
Okay. Well, it was a lot of people call me Mary only because of the way my mother decided to spell it. It was two separate words with a capital A and a space in between the Y and the A. So I always get called Mary, which I do not like. And so my name, yeah, is it's the name. It's an
It's
old
beautiful.
name, right? Mary Ann. Well, and so yeah, I've embraced my name.
That's good.
I
It's a
haven't,
beautiful name.
yeah, thank you so much.
Hmm. So, are you originally from Canada?
I am. I am born in Toronto, and then I was adopted and moved to a smaller town outside of Toronto with the family that raised me when I was two and a half. And so, but I am in Toronto. I seem to, as I grew as an older woman and got, more mature and wanted to explore life, I gravitated towards Toronto. I guess maybe that's just a memory from my DNA. Who knows, right?
Hmm. Maybe.
That's what I'm assuming.
And how did you find your way to Costa Rica?
Wow. Quite the adventure, which, it started with an advertisement that I saw in the paper for a teak investment at a teak plantation in Costa Rica. And I looked at it, and it was in 1998 or 1990, maybe 97, but 98. I went to Costa Rica to check out this teak plantation. And it kind of just evolved from there. I liked what I saw. I didn't invest in the teak plantation, but when I came back to Toronto, I had my son at the time, and my son's father and I just discussed, you know, other things, other ways of living. And so we decided to move there and just create a better life for my son. I would homeschool him. And so that's how it started. And then I finally ended up going there in 2000 at the end of December 5th, 2000 is when I went down with a bicycle in my box, a bag of clothes, a pocket of money, and it kind of just went from there. It
Wow.
was really an adventure of not knowing what was going on. My son's father did not come at that time. I went first because I was willing and able to go first. He um, was to follow afterwards, which he didn't, but we won't get into that.
All right.
And I just had to kind of pave my way through the ox trail when I was down there. And then my son came after about a year and a half after. My dad brought him, and it's just an evolution of growing, personal growth, and wanting some kind of a better quality of life for my son in the future. So I'm really glad I opened the doors for him to know Costa Rica, understand its energy. He speaks fluent Spanish now. I, on the other hand, didn't really grasp it that well. I can get by, and so that's how it kind of started, and it just progressed and snowballed into bigger things. Few obstacles here and there presented themselves, but I don't think that they would have if the universe didn't think I was ready to handle it. So that's what I know, and it's the ball's still rolling.
Hmm. Oh, what's a teak plantation?
A teak is a specific tree that grows quite fast, um, and the wood is used for boat decks, and it's very weather to it's very durable to the saltwater air and the rain, and it's a really popular wood too. It's really expensive, um, and people grow them, and then they lumber them, and turn it into durable furniture and wood materials for building. So that's a typical tree that grows in Costa Rica. They have They grow really skinny and straight, not very big trunks, but they're like big poles, and they have big, big leaves. But when the leaves do fall, they do, they fall and they're brown and they're ugly on the ground. It just looks like garbage leaves, really, But the tree is very valuable. The wood is high quality.
Oh,
Hmm.
wow.
Yeah,
The teak tree.
teak. People
And
make
so
decks out of them.
that's cool. So how do we get to the house that you have now? Well, it is Casa Melosa.
Casa Melosa is like about a maybe half an hour drive through the monkey trail from the Liberia airport in Costa Rica. Um, and it's about a 3-minute walk to the Pacific Ocean of Playa Potrero, which is where the little, sort of like a little suburbial mixture of Costa Ricans and Canadians, a lot of Canadians in the neighborhood that have uprooted and replanted themselves in that area. And it is a neighborhood that is right around the corner from Playa Flamingo, where the new marina yacht slip has been built. So there's quite a bit of growth in that area, and they um, they have tons of new expats that have gone and fled to the area. It's really a family oriented neighborhood. Like there's a lot of Canadian families that are down there that have uprooted their children and created a new life down there, and they have the bilingual school that's there. So I've seen such an influx since, well, in the last 3 to 5 years. Huge, a huge amount of people fleeing to Costa Rica
Wow.
for just health purposes and beneficial for just a more of a lenient way of living. And yeah, it's a beautiful area. They call it the Gold Coast area, and that's from that Playa Potrero area. And there's a coastal road that goes all the way down to Nasara. So
Okay.
it's the Flamingo is a blue zone area as well. There's different blue zone areas, and
Oh, that's
we have a
right.
blue zone. Mhm.
I have the Blue Zones book. So
Do you?
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm often looking at recipes from it. That's really
Okay.
cool.
Yeah. So Casa Melosa is kind of planted in that area, and she was planted in that area about 2012. So I was down there. So from 2000, and when I went there initially, I was, you know, learning, understanding, researching, seeing what I could might do down there. But Casa Melosa became an active project in progress in 2012 when I bought a lot close to the beach. And a year later, I started to grab my tools and I stuck my shovel in the ground and I started building. And it's been a project that was underway ever since that time. Finished about 2019, just before COVID. And then I was ready to open up, and COVID hit. And so, yeah, there's been a few struggles to stay alive. But I think, yeah, I have my work here in Toronto that kept holding it up. I rented it to Costa Ricans at that time who could travel to the beach like every other day. They were allowed to go out in their cars. And so that's how I paid the bills in the first couple of years until things got kind of straightened out a little bit. And then opened up my Airbnb account with Airbnb, I think it was 4 years ago. Yeah. So we've only been up and running for about 4 years. Just playing, tweaking, seeing what I can do. Trying the space has evolved, pretty dramatically since that time, and just cleaning things up. And I had a few bad contractors and
Oh,
electricians and plumbers, and just kept going through it. Yep. And and now it's becoming an interesting little venue because people are starting to feel the energy. I'm creating more of a nice, like, a healing, loving vibe. And so when people come, they like, I wanted to see if I can do some retreats. Maybe I can do some retreats here at Casa Melosa. And they are, I'm not any part of it. I'm just renting the property as a venue for facilitators, but I'm seeing a lot more people wanting to retreat into healing modalities, just a way of life, of living day by day in the rhythm of Costa Rica, and have some professional facilitators to have an itinerary for their stay. So um, that's how it's evolving, like organically. Casa Melosa is she, so she's feminine, and she's a healing property. That's what I would like. I never really thought it was going to be that kind of a property. I just kind of thought I wanted to have a little retirement home, maybe 2, 3 bedroom or something, but it turned into like an 8 bedroom little open concept kind of venue.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. It wasn't even a plan to do that. And then I kind of thought to myself, back in the day when I was down in Costa Rica, I was always trying to figure out what do people want down here in Costa Rica? What do people need? What's what is the traveler looking for? And I kind of created from that vision, manifested into what it is now. But it's clearer now. It feels more like it has a purpose. Casa Melosa has a purpose, and I want to keep that energy frequency purpose solely for that. I think there's going to be well, there already is an explosion of retreats and healing and people shifting, and they're people are waking up to getting more in alignment of who they are, where their journey's taking them. And I just want to help facilitate, whether it's just with the property itself and having other people rent it from me as their own facilitating spot for their clients for healing. I just want to keep that vibe going. And
Yeah.
there, yeah,
That's a beautiful goal. And this, she is beautiful. Like it's so cozy and chic. And I was looking through the pictures, and like the bedroom is just like, oh my God, I could see myself
yeah, just simple.
just
Just add.
relaxing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's I'm trying to be very meticulous and precise with what I put there. At first, I was just kind of wanting to fill up space, and so now it has to be with intention. Those whatever those items or whatever thing I think that needs to be hung there, and that chair and pillow, meditation blankets, and I just have to be really careful now to keep the vibe fresh and alive. And yeah, everybody likes it there.
It's nice. How many
Mhm.
retreats have you had there so far?
So me personally, I have brought my clients from Toronto one on one. I don't do groups, but I've had, let's say, the last 2 years. Um, well, let's see, we're in 2024. So 2023, I had probably two a month during March up until about October, just for
Wow.
my own personal one-on-one. And then because I'm on some retreat platforms like book retreats and Retreat Guru, and those were just for my own purposes. And but now I have worded it sort of strategically in the Airbnb description so that when people read it, it says that it can also accommodate retreat facilitators. So a lot of people are starting to come through, and then um, and I've had one, two, maybe three since April of groups that have rented for their own retreats. And I have this gentleman now who he did some research and he looked up on Airbnb and found it. And then he saw the name, and then he went to my website and got my number. And then he went through the back door and reached out to me. And he's coming for 11 days in November, and he wants to do more retreats, but having one place to
Yeah.
use as his retreat. So he's coming back in March for a week. He's already booked Casa Melosa for that period of time. I think he wants to do retreats, if possible, every other month. And then he did say that he would like to maybe collaborate and kind of piggyback together and see if we can help each other. I can merge whatever I do as a healing facilitator into whatever he does. I think he's more of an organizer and gathers up facilitators and healers
Mm.
and creates the retreat space. So he'll use my chef, and he'll use my tour guide, and he'll use my massage therapist, spa lady. And so I think he wants to add me onto it. I'm not sure what I would do yet, because yeah, because my healing practice is just one on one with like individuals, but I'm just organically kind of seeing these opportunities that are just kind of presenting themselves, of people just, it's coming to me just
Yeah.
weirdly. It's I'm grateful, and I think that it will turn into, it might be turning into just a facility for retreats more often. I mean, I may have to block off my Airbnb calendars at some point, because I have maybe it's I would rather have retreat energy in there. I mean, I
Yeah.
have families and they book the place and they have all the rooms to themselves as families, but um I just um I just I just want to see if I can just try to get more retreat people, like a community that want to
Hmm.
work together, and they can use it while we're using it. We all work together like a community, kind of a community retreat thing. I don't know yet. I'm not sure what's happening.
That sounds good. Can
Yeah.
tell me more about your healing practice? What kind of healing practices do you do?
So I'm a sacred body worker. I do help people rebalance, restore, replenish through transitional touch. So this is hands
Mm.
on, and when I'm working with someone one on one, they have to surrender to just their body being nurtured through the art of touch. I do a Taiwanese body opening. Um, Exercise on the body to open passageways and allow people to learn how to establish breath again, so that they can breathe energy from the healing touch and breathe that energy into their body, into their DNA, channel it through the spinal fluid, having it, you know, oozing through on a cellular level, reaching the pineal gland, learn to get creative with that energy. So it's really intimate one-on-one work that I do. So that's what I kind of do, and a slash yoga slash meditation slash it combined into an hour and a half session, are my session
Mm.
lengths of time. So, and they can go longer. Um, Helping people understand about body energy also comes from the food that they ingest, as well as people who are feeling lethargic and not really centered and fresh and creative, to be able to learn how to incorporate some healthier practices into their life too. So kind of like a body energy coach slash just something that I have for 15 years of my work that I've been doing. It comes in different modalities at different times. I've worked with many women who have been traumatized by, past previous intrusions of on their life when it comes to abuse, body abuse, mental abuse, and just looking for nurturing space to get back into self-care again, of feeling good about their bodies again. So that's what I kind of do, among a whole bunch of different modalities of practice. But it's sacred work, it's one-on-one, it's very vulnerable work. um,
Yeah.
it can be emotional work. I've had many people cry and get a lot. It's a lot of busting open, chipping away, peeling away the onion layers and layers of what we have on us as humans and the programming and just trying to get to the core of who they are. And when that happens, you know, some emotions can surface. It's like peeling an onion. You kind of cry, get teary eyed. So this is kind of what, I don't know. It's interesting work, because um, I just see so much confusion. I see people are confused with themselves. They don't know really who they are. They don't know, but they want to change. They want to reach a higher brightness of life and the light. They want to reach the most energetic space and become the most authentic person that they can possibly be. And sometimes you have to shed some armor and, disarm drop your ego and learn how to surrender to who you are. So that's what I do.
I really love that. I very much resonate with like the touch and transformational touch. I think touch is so important, and like you said, there's a lot of people who, oh, well, you didn't say it like this, but the way I understood is like a lot of people have been touched the wrong way or haven't been touched with the right intentions, and so there's a lot of trauma and pain around that. But having somebody touch you, and it's healing, it's loving, it's gentle, it's transformational. That's huge because we need it. We need to
Yeah,
touch.
we don't we don't understand how we're supposed to be touched. And I mean, it comes from our childhood because just for example, when we're babies and we have a diaper on for 2 years of our life and that's ripped off of us and we're wiped vigorously we're just not touched. We remember that, and that we just don't associate anything else other than that's just feels normal, right? And so when we're touched with, you know the non-intrusive approach to um, intimate touch and understanding how it feels, we it's so foreign. We get scared, and sometimes even we run away from it because we feel guilty, because touch feels good, and it's concerning to me how mishandled and treated we've been as humans. But I don't think our parents or anyone, we're so different than them. We don't have to have that way of understanding. We can we can change everything and bring it forward, what we're learning within ourselves in our generation. We can, and each generation gets better and better as we go along. But I feel like I'm just part of the parade and waving my flag, and I want to just be part of the whole transition, right? Like I'm a firm believer, just, yeah, let's go. This is the way it's supposed to be. It's nice to have someone in a tribe to march with too, right?
Yeah.
That understands what's going on. Um, it's really kind of an interesting, remarkable time to be alive, you know, right now. I mean, the world is turning into such a loving, more of a, it's scary for people because there's all this loving stuff and all this nurturing and caring. People are like confused. What do you want? Like, because we've been living in such a harsh, cold, brutal, hateful, greedy society that all of a sudden it's really, you know, it's a delicate place. It's amazing right now.
Yeah. And so you mentioned that you also talk about the importance of what you eat or the food that you give your body. What kind
Mhm.
of food do you serve, or does the chef serve at Casa Melosa?
It depends on the diets of people. Obviously, have to get a little bit of an idea of what their likes are and their dislikes and allergies and food preferences. But fresh, organic for sure, um, and it has to be um, energetically, like the whole frequency of in bringing in that energy. We have to look at that food or see that dish and what are the ingredients that are and to have clients know what ingredients went into that particular dish so that they're really totally involved. It's becoming more aware of what those ingredients are put into that dish to prepare it so that it may taste good, but what's in it,
Mm-hmm.
uh, fresh fruits and vegetables, you know, fish from the ocean. If it is red meat, it has to be organic. And how are those cows raised? I mean, cows can be, you know, full of injections too. We have to know where the meat comes from, and it has to be the most fresh, organic um, piece of meat that could ever possibly be going into your body because it all affects you, and it's not only that, but just the intention and the preparation of it. How's the chef cooking that up? I mean, overcooking um, is not required, recommended because you have to be really meticulous with the food that's being prepared. I mean, it's all energy, right? Even
Mm-hmm.
down to the water that we drink. I have a well on my property, so it's it's full of minerals, but we have it, tested every month. We don't use the water from the system in the neighborhood because it's just overly it's it's treated, but it's not the best. So that's why I spent the money to get a well put in so that the property has fresh well water. And some people, like my maid in particular, she won't drink the well water. I mean, she's a firm believer of treated water is, for some reason coming from the ground, from the well, even if it's tested, and I have it tested because I legally have to have it tested to have it functioning as a registered well before I can allow anybody to drink it. She still won't drink the water. It's just because she's from Nicaragua, and there's a lot of they can be some polluted grounds, garbage and things, and she's really picky about that. But I have well water for that reason. But when it comes to food and the menu, usually it's coordinated and created with each individual client. First, I have to know what everyone's diet is, right? And their behaviors, you know,
Mm-hmm.
we stem from that. So there's always a questionnaire and, a list of the do's and don'ts of to buy and not to buy. I mean, you can have a nice tossed cranberry, spinach, mango salad or whatever, but you
Mm.
can't just throwing any kind of chopped nuts in it and stuff, right? I mean, you have to be a little bit mindful of the ingredients for the sake of
Yeah,
safety.
I'm with you.
Yeah,
I often get like I guess the side eye because I'm very picky about food, but it's
yeah,
priorities, like a lot of people are picky about other things, but I try to pick things that are mindfully sourced, mindfully raised. I mean, my mom used to live in Wisconsin, and we went to this farmer's market, and I bought a chicken breast. And I was like, where did this chicken come from? And how did this chicken die? And my mom was like, oh my God, Crystal, I'm like, I want to know what its life and what the death, and I want to know the whole process. I don't want to be blind to the reality of things because it's going in my body. And also I want to honor, these things. Like you said, everything is energy, and
mm,
honoring the life of another being that's being killed. even
absolutely.
even plants even plants are killed.
Yes, they are. Well, it's funny because plants they feel and they retract when they feel danger and negative energy. They've done whatever those ultra lights are kind of like scans on the plant energy vibration when somebody has come in with a knife and scissors and just starts aggressively cutting their leaves or their um, they've I don't know how they do it, whatever that technology or scientific experiment is, but the plants, the energy, the vibe is actually receding away from that danger. And then they'll brought in somebody that has nurturing spray and cloths and they start delicately touching the plant and the other plants around that plant that was kind of, you know, tainted, they 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 go back towards safety again. They've got this ultraviolet sensory testing thing that they've actually seen the waves, the vibes of the plants. I'm like, this is mind blowing. They
Yeah.
feel the danger, and then when they see that really nurturing person coming back to help, they go back. They go towards that person. Like I was flabbergasted when I saw that. And they're alive. Like every time I have a house plant, and if I feel like I'm trimming it or it makes me feel bad in my heart that it's not surviving.
Yeah.
And I feel so sad. They're living organisms. We have to be careful
Yeah, we
of
do.
what we're eating for sure. Yeah, that the process of how it became to our table and how it became to our refrigerator needs we need to see the steps to know.
Yeah.
It's all a mindful awareness, and we should be that way with everything, not just food, but with our relationships, with our way of living, how we speak. We have to be methodical in all areas.
Yes, very true. I agree.
Mhm.
So, speaking of mindful and going back to the property, what is your favorite aspect or what is your favorite spot?
Well, I just created a little garden spot with an outside ice bath in my little
Oh,
garden. Yeah, and I did that for basically for me because when I'm down there, I like to take ice baths and or cold showers. And I thought, and I was taking some ice baths um, here in Toronto, and I would just fill up the tub, and it's good for your skin. And I thought, wow, I need to have one in my garden. So I created that, and that's new. But before that, I guess it would be just my quiet space for in my rocking chairs where my little fairy lights are and my little yoga meditation room. I'm going to turn it into a sound meditation. I do a lot of um, reading in that room, and it's away from the pool. But I think my favorite spot would be just my gardens, my my plant life, my greenery. It's not a lot of grassy land area. It's just little corners that I've created into little plant sanctuaries, testing out how things grow in different areas. It's different plants grow different in different environments. So I think we're down to the peace lilies really grow nicely down there. They like lots of water and they don't like a lot of sun and they're really flourishing. So I got my gardener to just plant a whole slew of them and they're just popping up with little white leaves now and I think the garden areas are my favorite. The ice bath area is going to be my most favorite because it's going to be nice when it's really hot out just to stay in there
yeah.
and just let your skin get all nice and tight with the ice. And it's refreshing. It's a good place to meditate for about 5 minutes or so in the ice bath. It doesn't feel that cold because it's hot, but
Yeah.
I like to go in that area.
But you're brave doing ice bathing in Toronto where it's cold.
Yeah, yeah, but it's healthy, and I'm really feeling just the exhilarated health benefits from it, and I also see the benefits for the skin as well, and just the sharpness of what it does for your mind.
Mhm.
It's like night and day. Once you go in and try to do it in the morning is the best to start your day. Anthony Robbins, he does it every day. He has an ice plunge in the back of his yard and he just jumps like straight in. And mine's a bath, so you just kind of sit in it. But he can go right in over to your head, right? You can go into over your head in the bath. You just kind of sink down and you can go right in, but you just have to be careful with the brain freeze, right? It's cold, but it's I think it what it does, it I think it rewires some frontal neuroplasticity in your brain or something. It just and you meditate while you're doing it so that you can it's all rewiring. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing for you.
So you have that in the garden. Are there any, do you see any animals like monkeys or sloths,
Yeah, the
birds?
monkeys the monkeys, there's birds and there's a lot of hummingbirds in the bath area because I planted these plants that are really attracting a lot of hummingbirds. So you can lie in the bath in the early in the morning and you can look at that one particular plant. Yeah, it's, usually they're hanging around early, like about 5:36, and the monkeys are across the street. And they're the
Oh,
howler monkeys are always there in the morning, about 4:30, 5 o'clock. So I think that's the best time for the ice bath to get, as much because I'm at the beach. I'm not up in the hills, so there is no sloths in my area, but there are the monkeys and a lot of hummingbirds in my corner bath area. So you can lie in there and listen to the howlers and watch the hummingbirds in the morning.
that's really cool.
It's therapeutic.
Hmm. Um, I wanted to ask you what what was the most transformative experience that you've witnessed in your space from somebody being there on retreat or just with you?
Well, I would say I had a client who he was an amputee last March and came for, I think it was a 4-day spurt at Casa Melosa with me. And we go on this healing river tour. It's part of the 4-day retreat. So we go to this blue alkaline water river, get dropped off. To be able to go in the river without his leg and to be able to travel across some of the rocks and hills and things with his leg until we get to the spot. And he wanted to get rid of his fear of because it's very hard to swim with one leg, and we can't imagine how it would be if you try it when you're swimming to just move one leg, you're off balance. And so he wanted to go in the ocean as well, um, and snorkel without his leg, and it was the first time he ever did that, was to have someone who he could trust to go with him, so that he could accomplish or conquer his fear. So I would go in the water with him, and he had a hard time snorkeling too because he's off balance. So it's just, but he was able to see some fish, and he was able to, I guess, to build the confidence that he's still okay as a human being, even if one leg was gone, um, and could still do things without that leg that any normal person could do. And he was really water focused on that 4 day. And I'm thinking that I helped him accomplish that goal. And so I feel privileged to have been able to be part of his healing, building confidence part of what he wanted to try to achieve. So I think the transformation there was he left. He said he left him. We always have a little like a little powwow at the end of the retreat. Just kind of sit and have a little talk about and just go over the days that we spent. And he was very empowered and felt he rebuilt his confidence with that aspect of his life. because there's somebody in safe space with him. It's a huge responsibility. That was something that I never really, I'm not professionally trained to, facilitate someone in the water with one leg, but I just kind of naturally did that. I
Yeah.
felt like I felt like I was confident enough to. It's a great feeling in your heart chakra to have someone trust you in that regards to their body, for safety. So I guess the transformation, that's a one of the biggest transformations that I saw. More of a physical transformation, like confidence with
Mhm.
his with their physical aspect of their life. Um, and some other people that I was there with a lady, and she wanted to explore just her own sensuality when being in a different quiet space and vulnerable to her exploration to be creatively sensual, and sensual meaning just sensuality is creative energy, and so she wanted to explore that to see if she was capable of using the elements of the retreat and the environment of the tropics to enhance that part of her life. And she said she felt more personally creative after exploring doing naked dance with props like sheer material and just being able to explore her body freely in that regards. And that was a one-on-one. I think it was she was 4 days as well. So I think people, when they get unstifled and they drop their shame when it comes to that, it being sensual doesn't mean being sexual. It means using your energy of creative juices in a sensual way enhances and spurs even more creativity when you're
Yeah.
allowed to do it in safe space. So that was interesting. I think it helps manifest. You become more of a manifester at a retreat when you're dropping your guard and you're having a facilitator who can give you safe space to be able to unblock, because
Yeah.
we're stifled in modern society. I think the world is just so stifled. They're wrapped up in a straitjacket. We have no, and that's done by design so that we can be uncreative humans. But retreats are to unravel all of that and to express and get our identity back. So
Hmm.
these are things that I see that come out of retreats, is people getting back to themselves again so they can head towards the path and get on it again and head towards the light. So
That's amazing.
yeah.
Thank you
Mm.
for sharing those. Both of
Yeah.
them are just equally powerful in their own way. And I mean, that last one, I've had a lot of work with myself, and I know, just society as a whole, sensuality does not mean sexuality. Is
Nope.
like, I want to be able to have the freedom to explore that without you general, you making it sexual. Like, that's not what it is. Let it be what it is and don't make
Yes.
it something else. They're two separate
Yes.
things. That's why they're two separate words,
Yes.
you know?
I could not agree with you more, and I don't know where the confusion comes from with those two words. What I do think is that sensuality, when you do, this is very deep stuff, but I mean, I go deep, and I know the
Let's go
science
deep.
of, yeah, and the thing is, sensual can become sexual if you are exploring your sensuality when it comes to taste and sight and tactile touch and hearing and speaking and verbalizing, detailed things of pleasure. And that, it doesn't mean sexual. It means, wow, that chocolate covered strawberry was so pleasurable. You speak those words, it can turn into a sexual feeling. So I think that sexuality and that vibration can come from sensuality if you're exercising a sensual life. The flower bouquet is so vibrant with purples and the hues of reds and yellow. It color can trigger sexual vibrations. So we have to be careful because one can lead to the other, but they are two separate things. If we're more focused on the sensual energy and frequency to create and manifest is what I like to use sensuality for, as a tool. Um, there seems to be just a misconception. The whole, it's all misconstrued. Sexuality is an identity that you can explore with another, and it is how you view yourself as an intimate being with another person. Um, but I think that's why some people think that they're kind of one of the same coin. It's a different coin altogether. Sexual and sensual are they're two different coins. It's not the other side of sexuality is not the other side of the coin of sensuality. Um, so yeah, there's a gray area of understanding. Everything should be sensual. We are sensual. That we come from energy of a frequency of conception, which should
Yeah.
be coming from a sexual activation, but it's been created from it could have been created from touch. It could have been created from a loving, sensual dinner with your intimate partner. I mean, those are all prerequisites to the activation of sexual energy, are the sensual activities, eating food that tastes wonderful. You're going on a date with your partner, and it was a very sensual experience that turned into a sexual activity with that person, with that significant other. It's a little confusing. I'm not sure if I kind of dissected that properly, but
Yeah,
I mean,
I think you
we could
did.
go deeper. I mean, but it's creative energy. One is for procreation, one is for creation. Sexual is to procreate. Sensual is to create because we're
Yeah.
creative human beings. It comes from more of the creative force of the life force energy, which is creative energy. Life force energy is all things. It's made, everything is made from that life force energy, which is sensual. It's the act of sexual that mm, gets it the concrete form, I guess. I
Yeah.
don't know. I'm always trying to figure it out of how it actually, because we have to be creative sensual beings, otherwise we wouldn't be here. So it runs through our DNA. So we have to have these things incorporated into our life all the time, creating and surrounding ourselves with the sensual components of life, great art, great food, great conversation, sharing ideas, manifesting and visualizing and making it happen in the physical plane through sensual visualization and sensual experiences that are real, physical, tangible experiences.
Yes. Yes. I hope.
Yeah.
So That was amazing, by the way. Thank you. Thank you for sharing
I,
all of that. Super
I'm just
interesting.
I'm just channeling what I'm getting. I'm just
Yeah.
having it filter through, and it's just coming out, right?
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, you're
So
welcome.
I wanna ask you, what is the craziest thing that's ever happened at the house?
Oh, well, I'm thinking, um, oh, well, since we're in the jungle and there are many little critters, it's all open concept. There are times where there's little animals that pop in and they just kind of visit because they're allowed to just crawl up over the fence and jump in, right? I mean, I have roofs, but I have a wall around the property and raccoons, families of them, like big raccoons. They walk along the fence and they make noise. I
Yeah.
have the roof that is like the terracotta, but it's not the real stone terracotta. When a cat or something jumps on the roof, you can hear it like it sounds like tin. And so um, that you don't expect that as a guest coming from a foreign land like United States or somewhere where it's more commercialized and just there's you don't expect that in the middle of the night. But when a whole herd of them jump on the roof because they're passing through, um, kind of frightened some people in one of the cabins that they have these little cabin rooms, and it makes a lot of noise. Well, when I'm there, and if there's a group there, I stay in one of the front cabins that I've converted into my own little tiny space. If there's any problem, they can just knock on my door. But I heard all this screaming one night, and I just panicked. I came outside of my cabin, and the lights are on. Oh my God, somebody's trying to get in. Somebody's breaking in. I heard a great big thump on the roof. And so I already knew what it was because I heard it myself when I first started spending time down there. It was hard for me to get used to the nighttime animals that creep around, right? Mostly just the raccoons. It could be possums but that was some people just they're scared. They don't know, right? So that was um one thing.
I love raccoons.
I do.
And we
And
have families that we had like five, and they're big.
they're
They're just
big.
walking along the fence together, and then the one in the back is like turns around. It's like, "Are we good? Okay, all right." And then he goes back, and they're the cutest things, and I love their little hands too.
Yeah, yeah. But they can startle people. They're not really jungle animals because they're everywhere in the world. Raccoons come in all different forms and personalities and cultures. And they look different, but they're big ones. And we had a huge carpet of army ants that just swept through. I have like beige colored tile around the pool. And so it just was like a moving carpet across the pool tile. They started went through the gate and they just covered the whole property floor, and they just moved on through the back of the property. That was about a 2-hour travel one morning, one Sunday morning.
Yeah.
One of the guests showed me on their phone, Maryann, I don't know if you can tell me what's going on, but like we're scared to come out because we don't want to step on them. They're just army ants. They weren't doing anything but passing through. And I never
Yeah.
saw that before in my life. Completely black. Moving like moving black. It was it was just crazy.
Yeah.
They're harmless. They don't come in to go attack the kitchen or anything. They're just moving through a whole colony. I think
Hmm.
that happens during the rain, and it kind of disrupts the ground. And lots of things happen when the ground gets disrupted and they go seek shelter, they go look. But, I try to soothe people and help them understand that they are living in the tropics. Yeah, it's not, uncommon to see things.
Yeah.
There's bugs that'll fly. It's like a bug a month sometimes, right? Um, we're constantly fumigating and taking care and keeping things under control because we have people. We have people to be concerned about, because if you and everyone knows that it's open concept, but in their rooms everything's closed tight. But when you come out of your room, like the pool's in the living room, right? So there could be who knows what, right? Flying in.
Yeah. That's the beauty of life, just learning that we are not here alone. And if we're not used to seeing these animals, it's a great learning experience to help us learn how to cohabitate and
Mhm.
not be afraid, just be curious. And, oh, what is
Yeah,
this?
yeah. It was interesting. One time I had this family and they had these kids, a lot of kids on that group. And somebody knocked on my door. Maryann, could you come to the kitchen? There's a big spider in the corner. And so it was it was a big spider. Like it was one of those, I think it was a tarantula, some species of it, but there's no nest. But it was because my kitchen is it's outside, but the doors are they're sliding doors, and they have wires where the raccoons can't get in, but other things can get in. But anyway, I went and I cupped it. I stuck something underneath it, and then I had it. And the kids are like, they're like right in there looking, and the parents are like way off watching me. And it's like science class 101. The kids are surrounding me. What kind of a spider do you think it is? I'm like, I do believe it's a tarantula, but I don't think it's a poisonous one because it has no. It's just pure black. It doesn't have the colors, and most insects are more colorful the more poisonous they are. But anyway, we walked to the front gate and I've got it cupped. And they said, "Where do you think we should let it go?" And one of the parents behind me said, "As far down the road as possible, please." They're so freaked out because but these kids were so intrigued with what kind of a spider. I mean, is it going to be okay if we take it far away? Do you think it'll come back? Kind of thing. Like things like that. I mean, it's nothing to be alarmed of because we know what insects and what things come in, and there's always they're passing through, they need to be rescued from the kitchen corner on the floor. It doesn't need to be there. It's lost, right? It
Hmm.
lost its way. So I try as much as possible, you know to explain to people that this is this isn't an infestation. This is We're in their environment, um, and they understand that. Most people understand that, but there's still some people that are they need to have a little bit of education to know that it's not going to be harmful, and keep your doors closed. I know it's all open concept. When you come out of your little cabin room, please close the door, right? So that it's
Hmm.
tight so nothing can come back in. You know,
Yeah,
I
that's
think,
huge.
yeah. Hmm.
Well, Marianne, I have one more question. Well, I
Yep.
would like you to ask a question, actually.
Okay.
If there was the retreat gods or like the retreat expert, what's one question that you would ask them?
Huh. Um, when someone says that they are hosting retreats, what actually is your definition of the word retreat? What does
Okay.
retreat mean to you?
I'm not the retreat god, so I won't be able to answer, but we're just going to lift that up and wait
Okay.
for the answer to come back. And if somebody answers that on one of these, then I'll let you know what they said.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I mean, what we're in life is a systematic, programmed um, facade of how life should be, and I think we need to retreat from that at times.